Batman the Detective, issue 1. Tom Taylor writing with Andy Kubert on the art. Or Kubert. Does he like a Kubert or a Kubert? What does he prefer?
I've always heard Kubert.
It's what I tend to lean towards, but I don't know if it's correct.
I'm going to call him Cubert, just to be different.
Stupid.
I love the idea of going up to celebrities and pronouncing their name in an intentional way that no one has ever said before, just to see their reaction.
It's almost like a accomplice soul. Just like, I know who you are, but I don't know how to say your name.
Yes. Hello, Stefan Spalberg. How are you?
Yeah, I tried.
We just call him Stefan Spielberg.
Give him a bit of an ego check. We're like, not everyone knows you.
Yeah.
Hey, I know you. You're Stanley Kubrick, right?
That explains AI.
I don't even mean that to have a connection. I was just picking a random dead director. So,
anyways, the detective,
Batman
Kubert.
Detective, yes. So, Tom Taylor #1s are something of an event on this show. As we know. In fact, here's the soundbite for people who want to hear it.
Tom Taylor.
Everyone enjoys the soundbite.
So I just noticed in the audio mixer that me and Matt can see, but the audience can't.
Yes.
Pete has software. He has that soundbite labeled Tom King.
I was intentional. I was.
Yes, no, I know it was, but I've never seen it before. I've never looked. I just happened to notice it this time. Just thought the audience deserved to know that was the case.
So yeah, Tom Taylor #1s are a bit of an event. He recently broke us all down to tears with Nightwing issue 1 a mere few weeks ago, and we have him doing a Batman miniseries where Batman is mainly going to be spending time in the UK, seemingly, or at least Europe, if not specifically the UK. Issue 1 definitely is though, and I guess I'll get the most negative thing I'm going to say about this out of the way. It's probably on the lower end of Tom Taylor #1s. I don't know if
I agree with that.
Yeah,
it's still good, but it's
still
not
good.
mind-blowing like some of his other stuff is.
You know, compared to like obviously Nightwing, but even like Suicide Squad #1, I thought was a more exciting #1, where I was like, oh, who had all these new characters? This is really well told and fun.
It almost seems like it's kind of lacking some of the heart.
It's very Frank Miller-esque.
Yeah, but it's almost by design. Like, it's definitely a Batman I don't enjoy, like the inner monologues of Batman.
I think,
you know,
because the point, kind of Batman's, he's not in a great place right now. Right? That's kind of like, because this is very much in continuity.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of takes place, it's obviously after Alfred's death, but it's just before he's moved out of the manor and into...
Yeah, I was going to suggest this is before Detective Comics currently, because I presume he comes back and then moves into that new apartment.
That's my assumption as well. Yeah. And he's not in a great place right now. So I'm thinking he'll probably be in a better place by the end of this book.
I don't know if I get the Frank Miller comparison when you bring it up. I think my general thinking though was that the inner monologue felt very 90s just in general. I got like a very 90s Batman.
I think in general that's still the Miller hangover.
It probably is
that 90s Batman.
So the plot here, we start with a plane from Gotham to London, which is basically the victim of a terrorist attack. There's a woman who puts on like a white Batman cowl and dives out the plane. The thing blows up. There is a survivor though. It just so happens that Knight is on there. I'm glad it said AKA Knight because I would never have known Beryl Hutchison's name.
Beryl, the only time I've ever heard the name Beryl is when it's the Knight. Former Squire.
Yes.
Honestly,
probably true for me as well. I've never known a Beryl.
No. It's like someone wanted to call a kid Cheryl, but made a mistake when they were writing the name in.
They had a bug on their pen, and they're trying to.
It's almost like someone who wasn't filling out the birth certificate themselves, and someone was filling it out for them. Said, "What name do you want?" Cheryl. Was that Beryl? He said Beryl. Okay, Beryl it is. And then they get home, look at it, and go, "Shit."
Oh well. With it now, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, can't change it.
It should be noted that the only reason Beryl survived is because she's the Knight and tried to stop these, trying to follow the people.
She dives out after the terrorist who's got a parachute or whatever. and I mean, she's obviously badly beaten. She ends up in the hospital. You know, Bruce. Even the art's a little bit 90s actually. Like, that first page of Bruce at his back computer. Yeah, those arms.
His hands.
I'm not a big fan of Kubert's art style in this.
If I'm looking at it as a Miller-esque throwback intentionally, I like it a lot more.
I will say, yeah, the art's an interesting thing for me because I actually think the general flow of the panels and the layouts are really good, and I like how it feels as a story. But I would sort of agree that I'm not necessarily in love with the actual choices of line work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the proportions are kind of off. It's just like, I don't know. I now that Connor points it out that it's Miller-esque, it clicks.
Yeah.
You know? So
the one panel I really dislike is the second page after we see Bruce. So you got that big full page of him, you know, with the hands. And the second page, when you see it from behind, at the bottom, he's like walking off across the bottom, and he looks like tiny. Like he looks like Stumpy is the word I'd use.
He also looks like he's walking through clay or something. It looks like he's like pulling his feet through the ground.
Yeah, it's like really. It's like, I think it's supposed to be just his shadow, but it looks like he's like sludged through.
Yeah. I feel bad nitpicking at that, but you know.
No, it is. But I mean, that's probably the one part of the art I dislike. I think is the rest of it I can see as stylistic choices, and I'm like, okay, no, I can see what it's going for and appreciate that, and even the line work of it. That one panel, I think is.
I think this is clearly a talented artist who's trying to achieve something and is doing it pretty well. It's just that from a taste perspective, I'm not in love with it. But you know, I don't think it's bad art by any means. Like we have
the title page too. It was bringing me back to the Return of Bruce Wayne stuff, because this feels like a cover. This feels like when Bruce Wayne comes home.
I mean, even
Nate was working on Batman a lot around that point, right?
Yeah, and even Knight and Squire, like I associate that mainly with Grant Morrison's like time on Batman. So it even makes sense in this issue to kind of harken back to that. So the new Squire shows up, who, as far as I know, is a new character. No,
she is.
Yeah, I think so, because we've had Beryl as Knight before, but I don't remember the Squire.
No, this is new. I only know it was new because there was an article about this a couple of weeks ago when they released the cover for issue 3. So just before those solicits hit, kind of being like, here's your first look at the new Squire. So definitely new.
Yeah. And the plot goes into an interesting direction because Batman's at the crime scene of where this plane went down. And you know, obviously he comes to investigate this because, you know, this was clearly tied to him in some way. Someone made a point of tying it to the idea of Batman. And the Squire shows up at the crime scene and they're looking at things. Batman apparently has called in some favors to MI6 and various other authorities to like clear the area so he can have it to himself. And there's like a weird like like spectre, a ghost. I didn't mean a spectre, not the spectre, just to make that clear for everyone at home.
Yeah. It's Gentleman Ghost, but he looks like the Predator.
It does a bit now that you mention it, in the mouth.
There's a lot about that, yeah.
So, you know, Bruce putting on the gloves and stuff, that's a good moment. And then you just turn, I'm like, what is this creature? And just like, it's Gentleman Ghost, and he's like, he's changed. And I'm like, is this supposed to be part of the mystery, or?
I think that's just a stylistic update, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it. I definitely, you know, Gentleman Ghost, the whole idea of the top hat and the big cowl, you know, behind him with the monocle.
I'm assuming the idea here is because it's such a intense thing that he's here to feed on.
That's
like
what I'm thinking.
A little bit,
because he even mentions that this is like such a potent ground because so many people died here. That
in terror as well, not just died.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, people tend to be a little scared when they're in a plane plummeting to the ground. Typically.
Generally speaking, yeah.
Yeah. Batman goes to see Knight in the hospital. there's a bit of back and forth. I did like the sort of thing where Squire kind of told Batman to, like, maybe ask how she is first, or and then in the scene he actually does say, "Are you okay?" and then points out that was that was Squire that made him say that effectively. But and he's like, "I punched the ghost," because she's like, "Hey, how did you impress her? What did you do to, like?"
It's like, don't know what you're on about.
Yeah. So there's stuff, and then this team of the white Batmen, I suppose, show up. One of whom is clearly meta-esque because he's huge and sort of, I'd say, Grundy size, perhaps, for lack of a better term.
Very Grundy-esque too, just in the, temper, I guess you could say.
But one appears to be the woman from the plane, then there's two guys there as well. So they show up at the hospital, and Batman, obviously tries to intervene. They go filing out the windows, a lot of action. They're firing guns at him, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it basically ends with just the revelation of what this plane was and who was on it. Because there's a lot of Batman's monologue in the issue talking about, has he actually accomplished anything good? Because he's in a dark place because Alfred's dead. Has he actually done anything for anyone outside of maybe, like, say, the Robins, who he's specifically saved from certain, paths of their lives, and the Batgirls, perhaps? Like, how many lives has he actually affected? So the dark sort of ending to this is the realization that everyone on this plane, how this group managed this exactly, is maybe something open for questioning that maybe they'll answer in future issues. But everyone on this plane was someone that Batman has saved at some point in his career, which is a really dark.
I would say it is intentional. Like, he mentions that, no, this is very intentionally been organized, and it was difficult to do. Like, engineered, I think, was the word he used.
Yeah. Well,
so I think part of the mystery will be who has this pull, who can pull this off.
Not that I didn't trust Taylor to adhere to his own title, but it's called Detective, so I'm glad that there is a sort of mystery detective story to actually.
I think that's
uncover.
especially fair, given that the title was changed as well.
Yeah.
So you don't know if it had always planned to be like that, or if it was just here's an extra. Now it's a detective story because they changed the title.
I was gonna say, I don't think they changed the story though to adhere to the new title.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean it's like there was no guarantee it was a detective story because it had a different title before, and they might have just used that title just because.
Yeah. What are you saying, Matt?
I was gonna say the further the book went along, the more it was reminding me of Morrison's run, which is I really enjoy up to a point, up to when he gets to kind of like the Return of Bruce Wayne. He gets a little bit wonky, and then the ink stuff I never really finished. But just the fact that Batman kind of has a network of fellow heroes like him is something that I've always kind of liked, like the whole Club of Heroes.
Yeah, it's nice to see Knight and Squire as well. I always enjoy
see Knight and Squire, and if he's going across Europe, maybe we're gonna get to see some of the other ones, pop up, to lend an assist, and because you got to think that if this group's about, like, balance and clearing the ledger, right? Trying to take out the people that Batman saved, then that's going to draw in the other people that Batman has inspired.
So does it have a ripple effect of, will they then target the people that the people he inspired saved? Right.
Because if he's inspiring them, he's become that image, that symbol, right? So, but at the beginning, I was kind of like, this is kind of wonky. Doesn't feel like Taylor. It's kind of lacking that heart that I've come to expect from all the stuff that I've read from him. Like, even Deceased weirdly had a heart for a horror zombie story.
It had tons of heart, that book.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't think that in like a zombie heart, like a, you know what I mean?
I think what's so funny is that if they just sold us from the start that this is going to be kind of a throwback to a couple of different things, and the whole point of it was that it wants to feel like this, and this wouldn't be a surprise. But I think we all come in here expecting just a through and through Tom Taylor book, and he's kind of doing this emulation of a couple of different things. And I think it's fairly succeeding at that so far, and I'm down to see where this goes. But it's definitely not exactly like the peak Tom Taylor that I look forward to in all his other books.
That's fair. I'm enjoying it though. Like as you say, it's like a Frank Miller meets Grant Morrison kind of.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I'm so used to coming out to Tom Taylor books and like almost expecting like an 8.5 at least, and not being surprised when I go higher than that. And I came into this and I was like, yeah, this is reading well. It's flowing nice and smoothly. I got to the end of the book quite quickly, but it didn't necessarily feel like a lot of his other stuff. And I'm happy for him to experiment. And maybe this is why it's like just a mini, because it's like, oh, this is just like a fun little throwback kind of thing.
I'm okay with this. Personally, I'm enjoying it. I like it a lot. I think maybe more than you two do, by the sounds of it, a little bit. But also the fact that we've got other Taylor books ongoing right now, and we've got more to be announced for sure. It's like, yeah, I can live with just a random side 6-issue throwback. While I've still got Nightwing at the same time. I
think what this says to me is that the regular Batman that Tom Taylor has in him is still there. So the run that we might get potentially one day on Batman or Detective or whatever it might end up in, this isn't encroaching on that. This isn't.
You think he's saving all his good stuff for the big leagues?
I don't want to say good stuff, but I feel like this is a very focused thing and idea. Whereas, based on say that one shot that he did, was it the annual or the whatever that the Alfred story was in?
It was an annual, yeah.
Yeah. Based on that kind of thing, I'm like, he's got to run in him somewhere. Like somewhere down the line, that guy's going to be on Batman or Detective, and it's going to be a magical experience. But
and I think little glimmers of that shine through here. Just the way he talks about his two fathers in this issue.
Yeah,
it's like okay, it's still like that Tom Taylor DNA is still kind of etched in there underneath the homages.
Yeah, I don't think he can hide it completely. But this does feel very separate and a very focused. Like there's a very particular goal for this, I think, and yeah, that would be a big deal.
I do like that it's continuity though, rather than just being like this completely separate, irrelevant thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've made it fit and so as best they can with what's going on. Maybe it'll even end with him going to get his new apartment or something. It's just it's like a one panel thing to sort of just really slot it into the timeline neatly. But cool. All right, Matt, what are you giving Batman the Detective issue 1?
I'm gonna give this a 7.
Sure.
I'm gonna give it the 8, just about.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Matt. I'll go with the 7 here. Good, but not blown away. Which for a Tom Taylor book is almost disappointing to not be blown away. But it is what it is.